Today I'm going to critique my first few days at placement this semester. I must admit, this semester I was quite nervous to go on placement purely because it's self-directed. Um, we don't have an OT who's constantly there supervising us, giving us feedback. It's based on what we think is right and our own knowledge that we've learnt over the few years. So I was really nervous for that. One way to deal with this nervousness, I tried to be really prepared. I was pretty proud of how prepared I was. I emailed the site on time. I had all my files ready to go for my residents, and I had looked up where the site was and worked out how long it'll take me to get there. And I'd even written down a bunch of questions to ask on the first day, which was orientation for us. We had our orientation. I was nervous to meet the staff and the residents, although on the first day we didn't get to meet any of our residents, so we just met one of the main OTAs. She was really lovely, which also calmed my nerves a bit. And after our orientation, we were asked if we had any questions. Usually I'd be one to sit back and just listen to other people's questions. But this time, because I had prepared some already, I felt a bit more confident in asking questions. So I went through what I'd written down, which are necessary to know for working with the residents, such as like their routine, where their care plans are kept and all their medical files, what activities are available and at what times, and who usually goes and who runs them, and just questions based around the facility. I felt that I was able to step up and ask those questions because I know next year I won't have someone else to ask them for me. If I need to know something, then I will have to ask and I need to find out for myself. And so I thought that by writing questions down, it's a good way to get me used to doing this, and it gave me a bit of confidence beforehand to help with my nerves a bit. I felt like on my second visit that I wasn't as nervous to meet the staff, but I was a bit nervous meeting the residents. From class, I'd heard a few stories that there were residents that didn't really want to see the OT students, so I think I was a bit fearful of that. I'm always fearful of failure or upsetting someone, and when I say failure, I mean as in not helping someone, or having a bad impression on someone or offending someone. I'm normally pretty good with words and I'm always kind, so I was hoping that would work for me, and it did, except when we walked into the activity area where most of the residents were, we were asked to join in a morning tea, and it was really intimidating. I felt quite intimidated because the room was quiet. It was silent pretty much. The TV was on, no one was talking, and there was a fair few people in there. So I kind of had to break through myself feeling awkward and just get that confidence and sit down and start talking to some of the residents, and including the ones that we will be working with. So I was pretty proud of myself for doing that. It did take me a little bit though. I know next year that I won't be able to do that, so I'll have to. You only have a certain amount of time with people, so you have to use that time wisely. So I'll have to, work out that, okay, I've got to get in there and I've got to introduce myself and get to know them. So there's no time to be nervous or scared or anything like that, which I was on my second day. Afterwards, I kind of thought there was no reason to be scared because we're all human. I think it's my anxiety that does that to me. I kind of think really negatively, as in that people won't like me or I'll make a bad first impression, and that enter initiate stage of using CPPF, that's really crucial because that's the beginning of building your relationship or your therapeutic relationship with your resident. So I was really mindful of that. I think during the day I asked so many questions, which is so unlike me, but I really wanted to push myself to do that. I spoke with a lot of the other OTAs. They'd worked there for a really long time, so they had really valuable information. And so next year on prac, it's important to have those skills, because often you'll be getting a lot of information from like the nurses or physios or pharmacists or other health professionals that have knowledge about that patient or person. I spoke with the physio. She had some really good information. The OTAs, some of them had worked there for 10 years, so they had really good relationships with the residents and were able to tell me things that I wouldn't have known otherwise. For example, one lady, she has declined a bit cognitively, and she gets really emotional and upset sometimes. And so it was just good talking to the OTA and also the physio, ways that to cheer her up a bit if she is feeling down, and what makes her feel a bit better and a bit happier. I think my time management was a bit poor on my second and third day. I did spend 2 hours with a lady, and then I found that I didn't actually get all the information I needed for an initial interview. So to prepare for the next week, I filled out a CMOP and put all her information in the different categories so that I could fill in the gaps the next week. I think I should have prepared that before the first initial interview, just to save time. I know that next year we don't have that much time to spend with people, so just having this CMOP in the back of my mind before I go into an initial interview will really help that. So I'm glad I discovered that now, rather than next year when I'm on prac and possibly have a bit of a panic attack that I didn't find out everything I needed to know within that first initial interview and meeting that person. I really hope that I made a good impression on everyone. I get really nervous and a bit shy when I'm in new environments and meeting new people. Sometimes I worry about what I'm going to say. So I think practicing that over the course of this placement and just in everyday life, I guess, just practice talking to people, getting to know them in a way that makes them comfortable around me will really help. I think I could have been a little bit more organised. I had all my client files ready, but I hadn't prepared for my initial interview very well. And even for the third week, we were still doing the initial interview, whereas maybe we could have incorporated some assessments instead, like as well, to help us find out more, and just general time management during the day. I felt like the day really went fast and we didn't accomplish too much. So on our second day, we only met 2 of our residents and got to know lots about them and not so much about the other 2. And I feel like we could have fit everyone in that day if we had managed our time better and planned slightly better. So I think next year it's important that that happens, because I don't want to be behind or spending too long with someone and then other people miss out. And I think it's an important skill to have. I think the main thing I need to work on is my anxiety. I think it underpins a lot of my fears of new environments and speaking to people, and it makes me a bit worried about what people think of me when I really probably shouldn't. I tend to overthink things, and I think this impacts on how I might come across. I'm always worried I might come across a bit awkward because I am overthinking things, but I think good preparation helps with this. And if I do make use of like the curtain counselling services, this can help me with that, and also with my anxiety around new situations and my fear of not doing well or not succeeding or being able to help someone appropriately.